All right, and it looks like we are live. Welcome to Revolution Network. This is Dr. Jason Dean, and it is a Friday afternoon, and I have, man, I would call it a genius in front of me. I will tell you, there are very few people out there that I actually trust when it comes to the 5G, the cell phone, the Wi-Fi, the radiation issue. The reason why is not because I don't love to hear people talk about it. It is because so many people don't fully understand the actual issue, and it deals with quantum physics. And so I have here a really genius, right? He is one of the ones that I trust. It's Norbert Heuser, which he is from, just so you know, High Energy Technology, and it's IPC Global Corp. First of all, Norbert, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, but I'm not a genius. Sorry, Dr. Jason, I'm not a genius. I'm far from being a genius. I left high school, and that was it. No training, no university, no college. Thanks God. Thanks God I never been to college. The world was my tutor, and wonderful people I met over the last 50 years I'm older than 50, but I met them over the last 50 years, and who taught me and who I listened to and who I asked questions. Because the most important thing in life is that you ask questions.
I 100% agree. I would love for you because I read over your bio, and your bio is absolutely amazing. You live in the U.S. now, you're from Germany. I would love for you to go over and give your background as we dive in, so everyone knows. Because again, there are so many 5G experts out there, and I would not really call them experts, but you legitimately have the science behind it. Can you give everyone kind of your journey briefly to where you are right now?
Okay, I'm 69 years old, born and raised in Germany, came to the United States 20 years ago, living here with my family. However, my headquarters and my research and my development of products and the technology, everything is in Germany, and everything is made in Germany. I was married to a Chinese lady. I spent a lot of my life in China, in particular Taiwan, Hong Kong, and mainland China, where I had my own company. I left mainland China some 6, 7 years ago and said never ever again for good reasons, but that's another show. So 40 years ago, I stepped into alternative. First time I met alternative medicine in the age of 10, which is 59 years ago. 59 years ago, I came across alternative medicine. um, 40 years ago, I started with alternative medicine as a second job, as an interest, as a passion. And 10 years ago, I had some significant changes in my life and my family where I said, no, I got to take this, I got to take up this subject because I saw with 4G what was coming. Now, people nowadays always talk about 5G, but 10 years ago, when 4G came, everybody should have jumped the barricades and protested strongly. People think 4G is nice and easy, and oh, that's okay, that's like a toy, but 5G is serious. No, 4G is already serious, and it does a different damage, different gradient, and different type than the 5G. So 10 years ago, when I ran into 4G and I observed the world and I made tests, I saw that the mankind doesn't know, but it's badly needed to do something. At this time, people laughed about me, of course, and nobody was interested in this subject. Because the problem is, be frank, you cannot smell 4G electromagnetic radiation. Some people feel it, but very little people feel it. But the majority of people cannot smell it or cannot taste it. This is why, in the old times, in Agatha Christie's literature, the women in England always killed their husband with arsenic for a simple reason. You cannot smell or taste arsenic as a poison. And here's the same thing, it's arsenic. You cannot smell or see it. So people think they're safe where they're not. So I came across these things and I said, I got to do something because my children and grandchildren don't have a lobby which protects them. And even we as an adult, we don't have lobby, but the children and grandchildren are completely innocent and washed away with all this. So I started to look into it and started to develop my first product, which I invented a kind of a check card, like a credit card, but very small and thin, to stash it between cell phone and your, let's say, your covering cover case, right? And once you have it in there, I guarantee for 5 years that no cell phone is any more damaging to your body. Whether it's 4G, 3G, 5G, doesn't matter. So I developed this, and the more I developed this, the more, if you think back 10 years, what the world looked like, nowadays, everybody has a cell phone. We have in America a population of give and take 330 million people, and we have approximately 350 million cell phones, and the number is still rising. The number of cell phones is still rising, and you know which is the market the cell phone sales are rising? What do you think, Doc?
No idea. I don't follow that, but you're going to tell me.
Of course, I'm going to tell you. It's small children.
That's not shocking, Norbert. We see that all the time. Now that you say that, it makes perfect sense because kids see what their parents do and they go right after the cell phone. I even have to keep it away from my daughter, and it's not easy to do because we do so much work on them. But I can see how that would be the case.
Yeah, and you see, the teenagers, the adults, all have their cell phones, right? But the little ones, 2, 3-year-old toddlers, I see them in the carriage. You know what it is? It's not only that they're copying their parents; it's a practical toy for the parents to keep the kids quiet and they entertain themselves,
I agree 100%.
to keep them busy, right?
It's a new babysitter.
It's a new babysitter, and it's devastating. It's devastating. There's no emotions, no heart, no love, no personal contact, no hugs, no kisses, which goes that far that at very young age they start to take these things with them to bed, put them under the pillow for the alarm clock in the morning, and of course they don't want to miss any text message or any hot news, right? So that's the cell phone problem. The cell phone problem is that you can taste it, you can smell it, it's everywhere. And even if you decide to have no cell phone, most people will not give it up. There are these strange ideas which were published in magazines and in radio TV shows, how to protect yourself, how to make it better. One suggestion is no phone call more than 2 minutes. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Everybody after 1 minute, 59 seconds, switch off the phone, right? Um, don't have the phone on your body. Use it as a speakerphone. That's nonsense. I test this in my workshops. I give workshops worldwide, which you typically last an hour, a day or two. The cell phone has to be about 7 to 9 feet away from you to be safe. So to have it, people say, "Oh, I have it on speakerphone," right? Yeah, fine. It doesn't make a difference. It still bombards you. It still sabotages your body. So to have it on a speakerphone does not help. To have it not more than 8 feet away doesn't help. To have it not on at nighttime does not help much. Daytime is long enough. So all
Interesting.
these recommendations they used to publish to be safer basically are all nonsense.
That
Okay?
makes sense. They don't really know. They're covering up the real science, is how I look at it.
No, no. And it's wishful thinking. And of course, now comes the most important part. You see, the cell phone have a electromagnetic radiation. Uh, there is what they call SAR, specific absorption rate.
Yes, I've heard of that.
That means like a car, a governor, how fast is the car allowed to drive, huh? So how much electromagnetic radiation am I supposed to receive from the cell phone, right? So it's like a value, like a governor, like a blockage, whatever the value is, right? Now the fun part is this limitation is not being given by the government, by the FDA, or a public institution. This limitation is done by an organization which sits in Germany. And this organization, uh, you cannot invent that. This
No, you
organization,
cannot.
no, you cannot invent that. This organization is a corporation which is basically run by the cell phone companies. So the cell phone companies have this office, and the office decides what are the limits. It's the fox in the hen house.
They're regulating them. They're being expected to regulate themselves.
Yes, and the limits they give are the limits which are published, right? Now, there's two sides to it. The first side to it is everybody knows when you give for testing, who is in the industry, if you give for testing a product and it passes the inspection, it has most likely nothing to do with the product which is finally shipped. Because you don't buy a cell phone and you don't go to an institution, whoever that may be, if you find one, lucky, and ask them, can you check the specific absorption rate of my phone?
No,
Nobody
you
does that.
cannot.
All right. So now the president of that company is a Professor Bernhard. Sorry, he's German, but I don't care, Mr. Bernhard. And people ask him, Mr. Bernhard, the limitation you do are so high that they must harm the human body. Why are you putting them so high? This is unacceptable. And here's his answer. Drum roll. You can't invent that. He answers in quote, let me read it. If we lower the limits, it will kill the business.
So he's going for profits over humans.
Yes,
Got it.
absolutely. So now you must think along the line with the cell phones now. We have about 7 billion cell phones in this world, basically as much as population. Why? Because some people have 2 or 3 even phones. Now, when they change to 5G, there's one part of it. That's just the tip of the iceberg. If you change to 5G, there's only a little time left where 4G still works, and all new phones are 5G, which means they have a guaranteed business for 7 billion new phones.
Wow. Well, it's a good business model, I can tell you that much. It'll make a lot of money, but public
Oh,
health goes to hell, basically.
of course, of course. But you see, I have a part of I give workshops worldwide, as I said, and when I have different modules in the workshop, and one module is called uh, All Inventions the Past 200 Years, which are cool and sexy and fancy, are all harming the human body. All of them. So if you're interested in one day, we can do a show about these cool inventions, which have all the same feedback. They harm the human body.
Yes, Norbert and I, by the way, have already made a deal behind the scenes where he will be back on probably regularly because I want to discuss this stuff regularly because we are entering in to a whole new world, whether good or bad. After this election, it doesn't matter. The cell phone is always going to be, unfortunately and fortunately, a part of human life, and we need to know about these dangers. And he
Yeah.
and Ken are about the only two that I actually trust on this issue, and so we're gonna have him back a lot more. Let's dive into the cell phone because I know, and we're gonna talk about 5G probably the next time you're here. But
Okay.
from a cell phone standpoint, we talked about them being on babies. I mean, they're making Wi-Fi radiation stuff for babies now, baby clothes, etc. You name it. Can you give me some of the background because this is quantum physics, this is quantum energy, how this is affecting people and what it's really doing at even a cellular level?
Well, the effects are meanwhile long time proven, but not accepted. By the way, I was interviewed last year on 50 radio stations across America. And what happened was in a elementary school in Ripon, California, 4 students and 3 teachers developed cancer. And what they found was that on the playground of that school, they put up a transmission tower. And the school received annually $25,000 to have this thing there. Okay. So the people interviewed me because said, "What the hell is going on? Why is that the case?" Now, first of all, if we talk about children, their what you call blood-brain barrier is not developed fully, so their
Correct.
line of defense is very weak. And by the way, on my website there is a button called 5G and more, and I encourage your audience to listen specifically to the interview with the Dr. Ole Johansson. He's a specialist when it comes to children, and listen to his presentation on my website. And there is a second person you should listen to. His name is Dr. Barry Trower. Dr. Barry Trower is a whistleblower. He's now a retired gentleman from England. He was in the development of 5G, which is a weapon. We talk about this in other show. 5G is a weapon, okay? It has nothing to do with cell phones as such. And he was involved, and he gives it out all. He tells you exactly what the consequences are. So the consequences on humans, including children, is devastating. You have more likely tumors, behavior disorders, hyper, depressed. All your water structure in your body will be destroyed. Now, I have a special theme where I talk only about water, because basically we all drink bad water and we're all dehydrated no matter how much water we drink, because the quantity of water has nothing to do with the quality of water. So
100%.
DNA is damaged, the cells are damaged, the melatonin development is blocked, reduced. The pineal gland, the thyroids, and the thymus are all bombarded by electromagnetic radiation. When I test people nowadays, I'm not a doctor, I test people in kinesiology, and basically everyone has malfunctions in the pineal gland, in the thyroids, and in the thymus. And one of the 3 reasons for that is electromagnetic radiation. So, a study in Australia has shown that the number one reason for children to die in Australia, you never guess that, is brain cancer.
Not shocking.
Brain cancer, number one reason for children in Australia to die. Come on, it cannot be more obvious than that, right? We have an increase in cancer. Every third person in the world is now dying of cancer. Colon cancer is on the rise. Now, we all know that a lot of people carry their phones on their hips, on a holster, in their pockets, right?
That's a great point. I didn't even think about that, Norbert, honestly. But now it totally. I didn't even honestly put the colon cancer and the phone in the back pocket together until just now.
Okay, so then consequence, between 2004 and 2013, men above 55 have a 62% increase in prostate cancer. 62% increase. And between 55 and 69, it is in the same time period a doubling of prostate cancer. We know that the sperm count in men has drastically reduced. We know that the fertilization of women became more problematic. We know that brain cancer is on the rise, and especially on the side where you hold your cell phone. You may realize or not, every person has a favorite side to hold a cell phone. It has nothing to do with your left or right-handed. If you watch yourself and people around you, you will find out 99% they hold the cell phone always on the same side, right, of the ear, of the head. Which ear? They're always. You follow me, right?
Yeah, I know. I follow you. I don't hold myself in my ear anymore. So I'm trying to think. But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Well, look around left and right, you see it, right? So I go in my workshops that far to make people understand. I have 3 people, 4 people, 5 people coming in front on the stage, and they show to the audience, not to me, which is their cell phone side. And after they did that, I turn around and I'll test them and I'll predict to them, I tell them which is their cell phone side. And I have a success rate of 95, 99% correct. Because I can test that this side has already so many damages that it indicates.
That makes sense.
Right. So we have these consequences, which are basically for, there's another interesting figure, the hip replacements. Again, many carry these phones on their hips, holsters, belt buckles, and pockets, right? The hip replacement between 2000 and 2010 has tripled for the age of 45 to 54. The hip replacement has tripled.
The radiation's pulling minerals out of the hip. I never thought about that.
Plus, it kills the bone marrow.
Wow.
It kills the bone marrow. Okay, so these are all consequences of mobile phones, but these consequences are known, but they're not big time published. But there are plenty of studies around the planet, especially in Europe, where people may be a bit more critical than the United States. You have hundreds of studies and documents and papers which prove that. But of course, the cell phone companies will never admit. And the fun part is, the fun part in quote, you cannot get an insurance against electromagnetic radiation. No insurance company, even not Lloyd's in London, who insures every damn thing, they do not insure you against electromagnetic radiation
You know what's
because they know
interesting
the risk.
is we also see many women and especially young girls who put the cell phone near their breast or near the reproductive, the uterus and the ovaries.
Yes, they put it in their bra. Okay, I was the other day when the corona stopped, I was at the airport in Los Angeles, and I was sitting across from Starbucks there on the waiting loop, and I saw this employee, this employer lady going behind the curtain where I could see her, the public couldn't see her, to make a quick phone call. And she really pulled it out her bra. And I wish I would have had a camera to document it. I mean, this is absolutely crazy, but people are used to that and they don't think bad about it, and they feel great. And nobody, let's face it, wants to give up his cell phone. Okay, people don't volunteer to give up the cell phone.
No, 100%.
So,
percent
so we got to live with it because the government will not protect us, and the big industry will not protect us because they're looking for profits, not for humanity. They don't care. They don't give a damn, right?
No, I agree.
So, so what we have to do is, whether it's myself, small people, small companies, like myself or a few others on this planet, we're all working on the same idea. What do we have to do to protect ourselves? Nobody else will do it for us. It's the same thing with water. The government doesn't give us clean water. The government doesn't give us clean air. The government doesn't give us a decent education, right? So we have to pay for private schools in most of the cases to get a decent education, which is insane. It's insane because the education is the future of every society. So we have to protect ourselves. And this is what I've done, and this is how I started my operation. I later then stepped into other areas of whole house protection and body protection and so on and so forth. Because very little people know that, for example, your regular car, your regular combustion chamber car, already creates electromagnetic radiation, far from the electric car, which is the devil. Okay, to
Interesting.
put this in figures, for some people who want to have more specific, the human body has a natural electromagnetic field. We have a natural electromagnetic field which is counted in microwatt per square meter. That's the international standard. So we have an electromagnetic field of about 80 microwatt per square meter. That's our nature. We should not have more than 100. If you keep these two figures in mind, we have 80, we should not expose ourselves to more than 100. When we make a phone call, cell phone call, we have between 2,000 and 6,000.
Wow.
2,000 to 6,000. Now, I'm not sure whether your listeners know about the trait which is called home biologists.
I don't know if I've talked about it. I know about it. I'm sure some do, but not all.
Okay, so there's a trait started in Germany, which is called home or house biologists. These people are specialized to make your house, your workplace more healthy, whether it's the paint on the walls, the wood, the treatments, the air, the pollution, the oxygen levels, and of course, magnetic and electric fields and electromagnetic fields. Okay, that's a very professional trade. And in America, you have, meanwhile, quite a few people as well. There's one very famous guy in America. His name is Orem Miller, out of California somewhere, I believe. I never met with him. I only talked to him. And so these home biologists, they say a value of more than 1,000 is extremely dangerous, unhealthy to your body. When they say extreme, that's a nice word for cancerous, for all kinds of major upsets. Okay. Now, again, 80 is our nature, 100 should be the limit. Cell phones are between 2 and 6,000, and you should have more than 1,000. Electric cars are 6 to 10, 12,000.
Wow, that's a overwhelming amount of on the body. That's a load.
Oh yeah, that's every day, 24/7 to the most of the cases. Because even if you switch off your cell phone at nighttime, even if you switch off your Wi-Fi at nighttime, guaranteed 5, 10 neighbors around you are penetrating you with their Wi-Fi.
Wow. Norbert, you're dropping truth bombs today.
Well, this is what it is, unfortunately. There is an app called Fing. I don't sell this app, I'm just promoting it. Fing. And when you download Fing on your mobile phone, you can detect at the place where you are right now how many Wi-Fi connections are bombarding you. How many Wi-Fi
I'm
connections
downloading now.
are shooting at you? Now get the figures. What do you think you have at home? What do you think you have at home? How many connections?
My home, I'm a technology junkie, so I'm going to say at least 10.
Okay. Now, I was in Switzerland where I'm many times for workshops and TV shows. And in Switzerland, we went to a hospital. We wanted to know how many Wi Fi connections are here in this spot where we were standing in the middle of the hospital. What do you guess?
In the middle of a hospital, I can't even, thousands, if not more.
1,200.
1,200?
Yeah. And frankly, we first thought here's something wrong. The program makes a mistake, it can't be. And he went to a second hospital and cross-checked and was a similar picture. So we knew, okay, the figure is right. It's just so much that we couldn't believe it, right? So
Wow.
1,200 connections which are bombarding you.
That's completely insane. So this is what I want to do, Norbert. Only because this is a limited time day for me, unfortunately. And so you're obvious. I'm gonna have you. Are you okay if I bring you back next week?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, good. Because we're limited on time today. I have about 5 minutes left before I have to go on to my next thing. But you're too important. You have too much information. I know people want to know this, and we haven't even dove down the whole science track of this. However, what I want to do is I want you to give them a brief summary, a couple minutes of the solutions that there are. Because again, cell phones are not going away tomorrow. Obviously, they're going to get more ramped up. What are some of the solutions that they could have right now? And you can drop your website, that's perfectly fine, and we'll help you with all that stuff. But are there solutions and what can they do?
Okay. Now, to make this clear between everyone, um, I don't know everything. I don't know much. I'm still learning, and there are others which are better than I am, and I'm happy to learn from them. And if you have the readers out there, the watchers, listeners, ideas, information, please throw them at me. Questions, you can send me emails anytime or phone calls, and I try to answer them as good as I can. I've done the whole thing not to create a business. I've done the whole thing to protect my children and grandchildren. And when I saw it works, I love mankind, so it has to be accessible to everyone. When I brought out my first cell phone protection and people wanted it, it was like $400 because I had small company, limited amount, overheads. It was just $400, and I knew that wasn't the right thing to do. So I brought it down in various steps to this unit, which is $99 and guaranteed for 5 years.
Oh,
So what it
wow.
does, if you stash it between the phone and your carrying case, it blocks. Blocking is the wrong word. I have to explain it in the next show. We change the nature of the electromagnetic radiation because if you want to make a phone call, you must have electromagnetic radiation. Without electromagnetic radiation, you cannot make a phone call. You must have them. Okay. So when some companies say, "Oh, we block, we stop them," sorry, it doesn't work. If you stop blocking, you can
You
make a
have
phone
to
call.
have it to make the actual call.
Yes. So we change the nature of this radiation to work, but at the same time to be not harmful to the human body.
You're creating a healing opposite frequency then.
Yes. And it's all done in quantum physics in no time, no space, which goes that far. If I'll make a phone call with you now on my cell phone, I am protected, I'm harmonized. The harmonized frequency goes to the next tower, goes to the next tower, goes to your phone. The moment you answer the phone, you will be harmonized as well.
Wow.
And
So
that goes across the universe.
yeah, and
So
and I work in muscle testing, Norbert. So I fully understand what you're saying. Is literally because one of my questions on cell phones has been, if we can have a dangerous frequency, then there has to be an equal opposite frequency out there that can either neutralize it or create a healing frequency, and that's exactly what you're doing.
yes, yes, yes. And I have this write up there of my technology where I explain it over 8 pages what I'm doing. So you put this in your cell phone and you handled of all these influences, right? And I was lucky enough, as the last 10 years, I do kinesiology for 40 years. And the last 10 years, I could only prove my technology with kinesiology, which some people accept, some don't, which I understand. So I found in Austria an institute called BESA, BESA. And BESA has scientifically proven all my products and issued a certificate for all my products that they do what I say they do. And on my websites are all these certifications. So it's a scientific proof now, which I was looking, longing for years, till I found these people who scientifically prove it. So you put it in your phone and the phone is handled. Once I did that, we can talk about later then, I said it's not enough because we have a situation at home, we have a situation in the company, you travel the streets and so on and so forth. What do I do then to protect myself? So we start with a cell phone, which is the least expensive way we have and the most effective way, and it works from 1 second to another.
And this is why you are a genius, Norbert. No matter how much you tell me you're not a genius, I'm going to call you a genius. You're what I call a noble patriot. So I have a label for people like yourself that is called a noble patriot, meaning you are doing something for humanity, for America, and it's a noble thing because it takes with it honor. So I thank you very much for doing that. You're amazing.
Well, thank you for the compliment. You could do me a favor and write me a testimonial, which I showed to my banker that he keeps my credit going.
I fully understand. So this is what I want to do. Do you have a link or a website where people can get this? Because not only that, I'm going to join a little bit of partnership behind the scenes. We'll talk after this because I want to get this out to as many people as humanly possible. I want to help you with that. But where can people find information about you? And we're going to actually take your product next week, and we're gonna do longer on this. And I'm going to do basically I'm gonna show it to everybody. I want to do this because this is something so epic and so fantastic that this needs to get out there. And I've been yelling from a rooftop about quantum physics for so long. This needs to go out there.
Thank you. Now, what I can do for your listeners, if they go on my website, which is called Protect Pro, which stands for Protection Professional, protectpro.net, right? And what I can do, I can put in a code, JD, Jason Dean, and if people order, I want them to get an advantage of listening to your show because what you do is as valuable as I do and others do. You bring truth to the world and get them information and tools to improve their lives. So, and these people who are watching now, if they put in the code JD, they save. I can throw in on shipping and handling, so they don't pay shipping and handling.
Beautiful. I thank you for that. So you're going to go to that website. We're going to drop the link for that site. So do me a favor, Norbert. You're going to push that link over to me afterwards. We're going to drop that. They put in the promo code. It sounds like the letter J and the letter D, JD, and you will get hooked up. We can get this over to you, and then we'll make sure that gets out to all the viewers as well because this is so important. Norbert, I thank you so much for today. I knew this was going to be really good when I listened to you on a podcast, and then I reached out, and when I found out you muscle test and use quantum physics as well, I'm like, okay, this is going to be really, really good. I appreciate you. I'm going to send you out a link. We're going to get hooked back up next week, and we're going to do a longer episode and go into deeper stuff. But I appreciate so much the education you bring and what you're doing for humanity, sir.
Dr. J, thanks for having me. Thank you for your work. Thank
You're
you for sharing the responsibility in this world.
I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Everyone, this is Norbert Heuser. He is amazing. You just heard some of the most groundbreaking material ever. He knows what is going on. And not only does he know what is going on, this is what I love about Norbert and other noble patriots is they don't act like they know everything. Norbert, I've been studying him for a little bit of time now. He is constantly researching. He says he doesn't know it all, and he doesn't, but he is constantly diving deeper so he can know more for humanity. This is a humanitarian effort. So I thank him for joining. He'll be back next week. Everybody, Dr. Jason Dean, Revolution Network, Norbert Heuser, thank you again for your work. If you have any parting message, go ahead and tell them.
Well, I have one message. If you want to change the world to stop the war, there are two steps. One step is from today on, tell every person you meet, you never met before, something nice. Go to a stranger and say something nice to the stranger without any intention. And if 7 billion people around the globe tell every day to one person they don't know something nice, something charming, something lovingful, the war will end.
That is perfectly, beautifully well said, sir. Thank you very much for being on the show. This is Dr. Jason Dean, Revolution Network, signing off. We will see you next time. And go find Norbert. Let's share this video and let's change the world. Have a great day and be